Get ready for an uplifting experience with Coached Soul. Join us as we bring you the dynamic duo of Steve Hudgens, a licensed professional counselor, and Kenya Evelyn, a transformational leadership coach. Together, they'll guide you through engaging episodes filled with valuable insights and actionable tips on mental health, relationships, self-care, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Coached Soul is your go-to podcast for empowering discussions that will help you thrive. So let's get started and welcome our hosts, Steve and Kenya.
All right, welcome back to Coached Soul. Boy,
we are back.
Prince Alienation Syndrome, the history, the cause, and the joy that came out last week. You know, talking about joy, parents should be a joyous time of being able to be a mother and a father. And I know last month, in May, we celebrated Mother's Day.
We celebrated Mother's Day, yes.
Yeah. And
yes.
we never got around to talking about what we were talking about off mic, about your feelings about that day. You want to kind of chime a little bit?
Absolutely. And the thing about our conversations here, this podcast, and our listeners already knows that we very much receive the feedback and the energy of our listeners, and we create more of, and we just go with the flow. Another word I would like to use is I know personally that I request guidance from Spirit, from the Holy Spirit. So, of course, we want to talk about mothers and fathers at some point. And I feel as a mother that is so appropriate that we celebrate, we talk, we go deep today about the joys and maybe even crunchy moments about being a mama, to celebrate and honor our mamas out there outside of Mother's Day, because let's be honest, we're 24/7 anyway. And I'm so grateful that the world has one day to acknowledge publicly.
You know, there's history behind that.
I would love to hear the history. Yes.
I didn't realize that Mother's Day has its origins from the ancient Greeks. They celebrated goddess Rhea.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Romans honored it with their goddess. And so then Christianity came in. And so since the 16th century, Mother's Day has been celebrated.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I love that so much. And then back to celebrating outside of the day.
Yes.
I just want to put a lot of sparkle of truth to celebrate anytime it crosses your mind a grateful thought. Let it out. You know, Steve, I started doing that, especially since my mom is now sick in Brazil. And anytime that I'm driving, I pick up the phone. If she answers, I'm calling her. And I'm so grateful you're here. I'm so grateful you're alive. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful you gave me your best. I'm so grateful I get to parent the way I do because of you. Now, if you know my history with my mama, that can go either way. Like, I'm not saying it's a compliment or not.
Right.
Because many things they specifically do opposite, But at the same time, that's the gift. The gift is that I get to choose how to parent my kids. So for today, I want to honor all the mamas out there. And I want to honor all the women out there, specifically women, regardless if you're a mother, because today I want to go deep into two facets of motherhood. One is the motherhood for our children, the way we mother our children. And the other one, and we can actually do a part two another time, about mothering our inner child. Because motherhood, when I became a coach, and you just know that I became a coach out of my own suffering. Like, I needed to figure out some answers for myself. I was spinning. I remember going to my first Tony Robbins event. That was 11 years ago. And I felt like I was in the biggest, most amazing church revival. Truly, that was my feeling. And I couldn't understand, why were they not doing this in church? Like, why are you not speaking life towards, why were you not pouring into their soul? Well, and then of course that was my lack. Anytime I say why, it's my lack. It's my perception of pain and suffering, which very much was the perception I was carrying back then. So I decided to be the why. I decided to become the one. I decided to become, and I didn't have a baby back then. I was not a mother. And I decided that I really, I had to become a coach, a mentor for myself and others out there because of so much pain. It's like, okay, there's no book of life. It's like, well, but what if we can be loving and smarter and kinder and actually behave as a neutral space? What if I could be this neutral space to reflect truth to other people, right? And of course, I had come from music therapy in Brazil, but that was way different. It was way less technical and way more
Right.
heart and psychology heavy. And when I became a mama, everything shifted for me because I held this kid in my arms. And I know that every mother can relate to this. And this overwhelming love. I as I'm speaking, I have chills all over. And I never understood what unconditional love was like. I would read about it. I would read in books and Bible. And then I had overwhelming love for me. Now, note to self, that was not the moment that I could put that overwhelming love towards me in practice. That I couldn't do it yet. I received the information that this was available for me, but now I was pouring into this baby.
I want to interject something here because I
Sure.
want to kind of get your opinion and maybe try to help foster a little bit more of understanding of motherhood.
Yes.
I love my mom. I know there's some hate-love relationship, and I just love her more for that. But because of the animosity there, my aunt, who did not have children, her and her husband each had their first marriage with each other
Wow.
20 years after they met in college. So it was a
Wow.
funny, unique story that they never had kids. So she became my foster mother.
Mm.
So here's my question. Do you feel like that men help foster a woman to help her to feel loved to where she can be able to pass that love on to her children?
Yes and no. Truly, yes and no. I have met incredible women
Sure.
that actually never birthed their baby. They adopted or they're foster and they were single. So I don't believe there's a rule. I do believe it's divine anointment to every human to be able to have that kind of love. And in the same breath of my sentence here, there is something exquisite that happens through the portal of giving birth.
Yes.
And at the same time, it's not with every mama, because some women, they will also give birth and they can really nurture that baby. So there's not a rule, but I would say our divine design is in a way that women is so anointed with this incredible brain. And yes, I'm going to go to town talking about us here, because the way we are able to multitask and be fractured and at the same time be whole and manage and love and pour into the babes and pour into the house and help with their homework and non-stopping many times. It's nothing more than a miracle. It's nothing less than a miracle. And I also, as I'm honoring us with how much we do, I'm also saying from one burnout mom to another that yes, I'm so grateful for the path of motherhood exactly the way it was. So I can be here telling you this right now. I actually found my worth by doing. And now that I am in the other side of motherhood burned out, I can tell you that my worth was in my being the most loving mom that I could be. It's in my being, it's not in my doing.
So with that in mind,
May I just finish this sentence because this came out for me. So if you're hearing this right now and you are in the midst of burned out, my question for you is this. What would it take for you to let go of the perception of doing so much and offer out of your complete worthiness that you are and that your love is enough? And I know what you're thinking. Somebody still need to do the laundry, the cooking, blah, 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 blah. Yes, but maybe, just maybe, if you shift your perception, more help will show up.
so that's where I was going to go, right? Is how do women, so we can help men out there, right?
Yes.
How
Yes.
can mothers, women find that balance within themselves so that it doesn't demasculate the man or empower the man to be much? Because I know that seems like a lot of responsibility on women.
Yes. Yes.
But there's a lot of women influence that women don't realize. Most women don't realize the power they have of influential gift that they have on our culture and society. So there is a balance, a fine line. So how do you find that balance as a mother, Kenya?
I don't find it because either finding will be a doing.
Oh,
It is,
yeah.
it's absolutely an acceptance of my being. And Steve, if you hear this and you don't get it, just be in this, don't get it. And maybe you can borrow some of my belief just for today. Because just for today, I remember not getting it until I was in the shower and I was like, I get it. I get it. It was out of my own wounds that I needed to do so much. And I actually did not create any space for other people to help me. Even my children, as they grew, I continued treating them like toddlers, prepping everything and take care of everything. And they're like 6, 7, 8, 9. And I was like, oh, it's my habitual doing that's giving me this shadow, because it wasn't real. The shadow of worthiness in my doing so much. It's what I called in the many books I co-wrote, this coming from sacrificial giving is generational sacrificial giving versus giving because I love you and I choose to give. But my worthy does not come from my giving. If I don't give at all, I'm still worth it.
You know, when I think about what you're sharing, you get it.
After
Now,
years.
how do you help women who don't know it and how to get it? What are some
I want
tools?
so I offer my hand. Literally, I offer my hand because I believe that, and please, this is not just Kenya believing it. I know that a part of you believe and know the words are creating everything. So if you say, I am enough in my being, and if I let the household go for a few days and I don't go clean like crazy and I don't go perfectionist everywhere and I don't go yelling at everybody, and guys, I've done all of it and sometimes I still go there because it has been my default mode.
Right.
But then I remember my why. Then I remember my why. And my why is I was thirsty for love and attention. Not the wise women, the little girl. This is why I start saying motherhood, you're mothering your inner child and mothering your outer child. Because if your inner child is depleted of love and attention, You will be like, I'm doing everything for you and nobody sees it. And I'm doing all of that. And blah, 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 blah. Because all you want is to be seen. So listen, offer yourself tools. Here's a tool. Offer yourself the eyes of love. I see you, and I am enough. And little girl, I hear you crying, and I know you didn't have X, Y, Z, but I am standing for you to be right now. You see, because when somebody trigger anger, they are not making it angry. When you get triggered and you get squeezed, whatever comes out of that squeeze was inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get, oh, you made me, I didn't mean to say those words. Well, you are angry. Which part of you is angry? 10 times out of 10, your inner child.
Oh, yes.
Unattended inner child. Depleted inner child. Not having attention inner child. Alone, abandoned.
You
So
know,
your
and
children, so your children are actually reflecting that part of you that is wounded. So when you see that, you will see yourself and your children with so much more compassion and love.
and at the same time, it's that balance of you're not there to make your children happy.
No.
And you're not there to say, okay, I want a man that makes me laugh. It's
Which I
wait a
do.
minute.
Which I totally do. And at the same time, when I allow myself to laugh, laughter's all around me.
Yes.
The man didn't bring it, was always there.
But at the same time, if we are self-fulfilled on the inside, we're not going to need anything from the outside to help us be fulfilled. And a lot of times what I'm dealing with couples in their therapy is this low self-esteem that women have. And sometimes I wonder how much they put the man on a pedestal to look for what he can provide for them, and they fall short and disappointed because he's not living up to that expectation. The power is within the woman herself for that self-esteem, to have that self-confidence, to be nurtured.
So Steve, I know you write it down our podcast things that show up. That would be a great podcast another time.
Okay.
To talk about the dynamic and women's self-esteem and their reflection and all the
Yes.
things. For today, I really want to focus on letting my girls out there hear that they are deeply seen. Mothers, you are deeply seen. And it's not by somebody else outside of you.
Right.
Is by choosing to say, oh my gosh, I am a rock star. I am heroic. I am a goddess. I am a child of the king. I am. And therefore, from this place of I am, what if I would actually believe? What if every cell of my body would be vibrating the truth that I'm never alone and that I'm fully supported? All the pain, this is probably the most vulnerable share to date from me. All the pain I have carried in my DNA and my spirit was suffering, depression, feeling unsupported and alone.
Right.
None of this I created. None of this. I actually have memory, this is totally woo or not, I have memory of being in my mother's womb, feeling stressed out. And my mother generated me, oh my gosh, I have a second child, what am I going to do right now? I mean, those are conversations we had afterwards because she didn't want to be with my dad, and now she had a second child coming.
As a mother, I mean, it's difficult because you don't want to harm a baby. You don't want to harm your child. And you have all these emotions that stem from childhood.
I am not telling this for anyone to carry guilt. I'm telling this for you to carry the power that lies on your awareness. Listen to me, mamas. The power that lies in your awareness is this. If you can see it, it's for you. Notice that I'm not saying my mother did this, my grandmother did. This is not a guilt, blame, shame. What I'm saying is we mothers, we have carried codes, ancestry codes in our wounds, and we were born kind of predestined to repeat those things. But
Yes.
no, but wait, truth will set you free.
Every
So
time.
once you know and you carry and you desire for your kids to be free, for your daughters to be free, for your sons to be free, you set yourself free first. You don't project. What you do is you accept.
So, Kenya, we talked about, the parental alienation syndrome.
Yes.
We talk about leadership. We talk about women's roles, the gender, etc. Here's a big thing that because of what's happened in the comments and things for parental alienation syndrome type stuff, women sometimes can carry this power and they feel like, well, I'm independent. I don't need a man.
Yeah.
I can raise my child.
Mm-hmm.
So how can women create a balance so it creates a healthy family for her children?
I love this question because all I have is my opinion and my intuition.
Sure.
First of all, I believe everything you said is on the money. We don't need a man. I don't need a man. I am independent. I can raise my children, no question. Do I want to do that on my own? Is it supported for me and my kids to do that on my own? Heck no. But I didn't say heck in my spirit. It's not. There's a there, I yeah, and then of course I'm just saying here, ideally, right? There's so many variables. If the person is abusive, is it completely unaligned creation, if there's addiction, I mean, all sorts of things. But out of my own free will, am I going to break a family just because I can? It is actually, in my opinion, it's out of ego. It's out of trauma and wound. It's out of some kind of some kind of revenge, some kind of personal game, which has nothing to do with what I stand for. I stand for wisdom that comes from God and myself and others and unconditional love. And there is no unconditional love out there if you're getting revengeance in your heart, because unconditional love only comes from within. Exactly what I just said 5 minutes ago.
Right.
If you are squeezed and it comes out love, then you have love. If you're squeezed and it comes out revenge, then I would not necessarily see that as, you're not doing this out of love. You're not doing this for the children. You're doing this because there's something personal in that. Therefore, hurt people hurt people.
So I'm
So
glad you kind of went to that saying of hurt people, because Kenya, we're trying to change the perception to a
yeah,
healthy standard
yeah.
of roles, right? And so it's like when you say I don't need a man,
Mm-hmm.
for a man, they interpret those words as you don't need me. And so the men don't want to try. They don't want to. And so I know that's not what you're saying. But here's what I want to go. As a mother, and you get married to a man who may have mother wounds, what is the best thing that a
They
man
all have
can
it.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What
here's
is
the
a,
thing.
yeah.
How, okay. Steve and men out there, what sounds better? And I'm not talking about in your ears, in your spirit. Okay, close
Mhm.
your eyes. Close your eyes. I say, I don't need you. And I want you.
It's a difference.
What sounds better? I need you or
I
I
want.
want you?
Want is different
100%
because need
wanting,
is like a
listen,
task orientated.
but wanting is choice.
Yes.
We're not here to stay together forever just because we said I do. That's not okay. Choosing I want you, I want us every day is what I'm up for. But I cannot choose him if I don't choose me. This is why I'm focusing on me, women, and motherhood. I get to choose me. Am
Bingo.
I a better me alone, or am I a better me supported by my inner masculine and my outer masculine, which is you? Am I a better me alone or in community? Am I a better me just on the top of Mountain Everest? Whatever.
You know, in the 5 minutes that we have left,
I mean,
Kenya,
come on now.
what you're sharing is what I'm glad that you brought out, because that is a mother thing to do
100%.
unconditionally.
But my little girl, my inner child, she was hurt because she was unattended.
Yes.
Attention is love. My inner child wants love. And then when I pour to my kids and my kids they don't say thank you. They don't say there's any acknowledgement. I feel again, invisible, not wanted, not admired, not seen, abandoned. So this is not a dance that is conscious. Come on, ladies and men that is listening. This is not conscious. But once you get conscious, it's not your children's job to acknowledge you to heal your own inner child. It's
Bingo.
not. It's
Or your
not your
husband's.
husband's job to cuddle you and heal your own wound. It's not. Is it all part of a sacred community, a divine guidance sacred community for everyone to heal together? Yes. But you go first, leadership. You go first. You acknowledge that your wounded child is here for you to see her. And give to her the space, the love, the nice words. Remember we talked about going to, brush your teeth in the left with your left hand and say, yo girl, you're beautiful. Good morning. Today's a beautiful day. What are we creating? And you pour into yourself the things that you would like your husband to say, or your kids to say, or your mother growing up to say. It's whatever it is for you. Maybe it's too silly for you. Whatever it is for you, but the point is you pour into you.
And in our final closing here, Kenya, as men, we have this chivalrous knighthood that wants to come in and help our women. So here's the question. What do women, mothers, want from their fathers that can be beneficial to be supportive?
From their fathers or from their husbands?
In other words, their husbands who are fathers. Because that's our next podcast coming.
Yes. Deeply seen. We want to be seen.
So explain
and
that
again,
more.
the man cannot do that if he doesn't see himself. This is not a one street work.
Thank you.
We both need to be doing the work. So maybe the kids are not acknowledging the mama, but her husband, before they go to bed, hey, honey, the house was awesome. Or maybe if the house was a mess, you don't point it out that the house was a mess and say, the dinner was awesome. Or maybe if she didn't make, you find something she showed up, right? Hey, you look wonderful today. Hey, I see the way you're just a great mom. Wow, I got so lucky. Our kids is so lucky. Anything that is authentic, and she will receive as authentic. It will be water for her soul. And by the way, not just once a day, anytime you remember, any text message. We're never going to grow up to be that little girl that, do you like me? How much do you like me? 10%, 20%, 30%? The women out there might not acknowledge, no, I don't need that. It's like, well, you might not need it, but when you receive it, how do you feel?
Right.
How do you
feel?
So
I'm going to close out with
Yeah,
this
man,
story.
study your women. Study your women. If you married for forever and you want her, find what nourishes her and just give it to her. Just give it to her. And I bet it's much easier
You
and
know,
much cheaper than
I,
years and years and years of work.
I was the oldest, I am the oldest
Hmm.
on both sides of my family. And I remember calling my paternal grandmother. We called her Granny because she lived on a farm in West Texas. And I would call her nearly probably every day or at least once a week that I know of. There wasn't a time that I wasn't able to unless I was out on deployment and I had difficulty calling. But one of the best things, memories that I remember about her,
Mm.
she would say, "Thank you for the flowers of today because I
Wow, I
called."
love that.
And so we're going to end that. And so to our audience,
There
we
is
thank you
be,
for the
be,
flowers.
before you go, and I
Sure.
love that so much. Something that came to me is being the generator. So if you really want to be seen, if your mother is alive, give her a call outside of Mother's Day and find something she showed up right. She showed up in a way that resonated. Find something. If she was horrible, just tell her, thank you for giving birth to me. Thank you for giving me
Kenya,
life.
I appreciate that because I do love my mom in spite of our differences, in spite of the disconnect that has been chosen.
Mm.
I love my mom. I even said, hey, let's do therapy together, sign a release of information. Let's sit down together and try to heal our wounds.
Hmm.
And just because it's not happening, it doesn't mean I should stop loving her because the love is
100%.
unconditional.
And
And
if the person doesn't receive, you still do it in an emotional, energetic
yes,
way. And something else I want to address, and I know it got a little bit longer, is I said hurt people, and everybody's like, oh yeah, here's the thing, but it doesn't have to. You can be the
correct.
one that was hurt and you stop the hurt.
Yes.
So the hurt doesn't pass down to your children. And with that, my dear ones, I love you so much. We love you so much. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Coached Soul, where we aim to empower and uplift you on your journey towards personal growth and well-being. Remember, as you navigate through life, you don't have to do it alone. We encourage you to reach out to professionals, seek support from loved ones, and take the time to prioritize your own well-being. Stay tuned for future episodes filled with even more valuable insights and actionable tips. Remember, you have the power to thrive. And with Coached Soul by your side, anything is possible. Until next time, take care, stay empowered, and keep shining your brightest light. For more information, contact Kenya at kenyacoachedsoul.com.